Hello everyone. In this video, we'll discuss top 10 medical device ERP systems in 2025. So let's dive right in. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent, vendor agnostic digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, system selection, and change management. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is the top 10 medical device ERP systems in 2020. Before we look at the list, let's define what is medical device segment for us. So in general, this is the list of the products and not necessarily of the companies or the publishers that are publishing these ERP systems. For the most part, in this segment, we combine all size companies, meaning whether you are going to be startup, small, mid, or large, all of those are considered as part of this list. If you are curious about your specific size, you need to pay close attention to my commentary as I discuss each of the systems on this list. For the medical device segment, we have considered all of the business models. The business models could be biotech, medtech, whether you are going to be capital equipment devices or the consumables. All of those are considered as part of this list. Some criteria that we have used to compile this list is product share, acquisition strategy focused on medical device ERP, product roadmap, community ecosystem, win rate, technology strategy, as well as investors. On that note, now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Syspro. And Syspro, if you're not familiar with that, it is the smaller system for medtech and consumable centric. Even though they have support for discrete and process manufacturing processes, and that's where this is going to be a huge advantage for medtech companies. In general, a lot of medtech companies are going to have some of the process manufacturing capability that they are going to require, for example, formulation, but then they also require discrete support. In those cases, it can cover both of them. Some other ERP systems that we have on this list may be able to cover just one. So that is going to be a huge plus for Syspro. In general, the way their ERP and the inventory layers are designed, you are going to get a feel of SAP. That's how their product was always designed. Even today, they are retaining that experience. So that's a huge plus, especially if you have used SAP in the past or you care for SAP-like experience, you will enjoy Syspro a lot, even though this is going to be a much smaller product compared to SAP. The implementation is going to be easier and cheaper as well. But you get the same experience. Some limitations to keep in mind is when you look at the medtech specific last mile compliance, for that you will require a lot more add-ons as well as the consulting effort. So that's going to be a little negative for Syspro. Overall, in some medtech verticals, you are going to require the lot and serial number flexibility. We have seen cases where they require multiple serial numbers and multiple lot numbers, and sometimes both of them together. So if you require all of that flexibility, some systems might not be able to support that. Even Syspro might struggle there. They are not designed for that flexibility. And then their global capabilities are going to be limited as well. So if you are going to be present in just one country or a few countries, then they are probably going to be okay. But if you are looking for global operational synergies, they might not be satisfied. So that's number 10. Number 9 on our list is ECI DCOM. Overall, in terms of size, ECI DCOM is probably a smaller system than Syspro. and their ERP layers are going to be far flatter, even though they are able to package a lot more last mile capabilities that are going to be relevant for the medtech companies. So in general, this is probably going to be a better fit for companies that are really limited on budget and they have a lot of needs. They are looking for just one system that can do a lot. If that is the case, then ECI-DCOM could be a great fit, even though they are going to be leaner in their core ERP capabilities. But for the most part, the smaller companies don't necessarily care for that. Some other strengths to keep in mind is they're also very friendly for DTC-centric business model. If you are going to be very heavy in e-commerce-centric processes, then ECI-DCOM could be a great. In general, there's much easier implementation compared to the other systems that we have on this. Some limitations to keep in mind is the ERP layers, as I mentioned, are very limited, lean. So core ERP workflows, for example, costing, inventory, etc., you will have to take a lot more workarounds in general with ECI-DCOM compared to the other products on this list. And it's probably not going to be as diverse. It's far more flavored. So diverse business models might not be this one might not be the best fit. And their ecosystem is very limited in general. For the most part, you're relying on their own professional services. So that's going to be a limitation, and that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Oracle Cloud ERP. And Oracle Cloud ERP is a much bigger system compared to your Syspro and ECI-DCOM. So here we are looking for very large global publicly traded companies. Those are the ones that will like Oracle Cloud ERP a lot. In general, you are going to find a lot more global financial capabilities that you might not find with the other systems on this list. So if your goal is going to be to consolidate a lot of those entities in one system, then this will make sense. But then you are going to lose on the operational capabilities. It does not cover those capabilities as deeply because it's trying to cover a lot of business models together just because they are designed for that diversity. Some limitations to keep in mind is limited last mile capabilities, and the suite capabilities are going to be limited as well. And for SMB companies, it might be a little overwhelming, it might be expensive, so it might not be the best fit for very small companies, and that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O. And again, they have changed the name of this product. I think they are now called Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain or Supply Chain Management, something along those lines. And then they have segmented this product with project operations as well. But again, the underlying product is still the same. This is the old name for that. And in general, this is going to have very similar feeling as your Oracle Cloud ERP product. It has very similar strategy. It is designed for that global consolidation. For the most part, Microsoft is not going to have as many logos with very large companies, but it is proven in that upper mid to lower enterprise segment. Some of these trends to keep in mind from the Microsoft Dynamics perspective is it is ideal for those diverse business models when you are trying to consolidate all of those global entities in one system. Some limitations to keep in mind is the last mile capabilities are going to be limited, and that's where you are relying on those third-party add-ons. So because of that, you are going to have a lot more implementation risk. The implementation is going to be complex in general, just because you are getting a lot more from the third-party vendors. And the suite is not going to be as tailored as some of the other products. Medical device-centric capabilities, those are not going to be as flavored. So that's number 7. Now, number 6 on the list is SAP S/4HANA. SAP S/4HANA is also a very similar system as your Microsoft Dynamics or your Oracle Cloud ERP. It is going to be fit for those large companies. The major difference between SAP S/4HANA versus Oracle Cloud ERP, Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O is that they are probably going to have a lot more market share in general in the medical device segment, especially with the larger companies compared to the other ones. Oracle is going to have that as well. Microsoft may not have as much as what SAP is going to have. And then The unique layers that you need to think about is with SAP is SAP does have the HANA platform, which could be positive or negative depending upon how you look at it. HANA does help with the performance, and that is validated, at least through our test. But then some people also complain, especially if these are going to be very small companies, that HANA conversion does add substantial overhead from the implementation perspective. So depending upon what you care for, and if you are limited on budget, then you might need to think before looking at SAP S4 HANA whether that conversion might be worth. So those are some of the limitations, and that's number 6. The number 5 on our list is Infor Cloud Suite Industrial Sightline. And Sightline, it's much smaller product compared to your SAP S4 HANA, Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O. Those are going to be much larger product. Infor CSI Sightline is a SMB product, which is probably going to be comparable with Syspro, but Infor CSI may have a lot more global capabilities and the multi-entity capabilities compared to Syspro. So that's the real difference between Syspro and Infor CSI product. Some of these trends to keep in mind from the Infor CSI perspective is it is designed for those complex sub-assemblies. For example, let's say in the medical device space, you are going to require as-built and as-maintained traceability for your device history record. And for that, you have the processes, the serialized assemblies that they have built. Those are substantially beneficial in this space. But again, with Infor CSI as well, you are probably going to require medical device IP, especially when you care for those electronic signature centric processes. For those, you will require an IP. But that is probably going to be the case with most of these systems, with the only exception probably being ECI, DCOM, that may not require as many IP. Everything that you are going to require is probably going to be part of that. But again, that's a very small product in general, overall, from the size perspective. The core ERP processes are far stronger. For example, let's say if you care for costing, then Infor CSI is going to have a lot more capabilities. And in general, Infor CSI is a great fit for field service-centric processes as well. And that is going to be applicable for a lot more CapEx manufacturers because they are going to have the service component, rental component, etc. And rental is not the core capability for Infor CSI. For that, they might require an add-on, but rental is not going to be supported by most systems that we have on the list. Maybe Epicor support that, but for the most part, it is probably not going to be supported by most systems if you care for that. Some other limitations to keep in mind is the whole financial experience is probably going to be disconnected, and the lot and serial number flexibility, if you care for that, Infor CSI might not be able to support that. They might have workarounds, but for the most part, the way the product is designed, it might not have the flexibility to be able to support multiple lot, multiple serial numbers, etc. So that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is Epicor Kinetic. And Epicor Kinetic is very well proven among SMB MedTech manufacturers. Overall, from the size perspective, it's a very similar product as your Infor CSI, maybe a little larger. They have a lot more processes in general supported as part of the product. But again, it's not going to be as big as Sage X3 or Infor LN or M3. Those products are going to be much bigger in general. Obviously, the SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, they are going to be far bigger compared to these, but Epicor Kinetic is probably somewhere in between for the SMB metric manufacturers. The strengths of Epicor Kinetic is, number 1, it supports that formalized engineering. And for the most part, for the majority of the medtech manufacturers, that's definitely going to be a key criteria to mandate the formalized manufacturing. It is designed for that. In general, the inventory is going to be very complex as well. With the other systems, when you look at the attributes are only going to be part of the initial phase. They might do a little bit of analytics there, but they might not necessarily be part of the planning. And that's where Epicor Kinetic is really strong with those inventory-centric processes. Some limitations to keep in mind from Epicor Kinetic perspective is it might not be as deep from the global financial perspective compared to other larger products because it's a very SMB product in general. And depending upon what you care for from the field service and quality experience perspective, Depending upon your architectural preferences, the field service and quality processes might not be as embedded compared to, let's say, Infor CSI or Infor LN, and their ecosystem is weak and the marketplace is probably weak as well. So if you are buying the complete suite, Epicor Kinetic is a great fit. But if you have to pick and choose, that's when Epicor Kinetic may be more expensive. So that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Rootstock. And Rootstock has a lot of implementation success among medical device companies, just because medical device companies in general, they are very heavy Salesforce users. They care for Salesforce experience. If you care for that, then Rootstock is probably going to be a great fit. Rootstock is also very unique with some of the capabilities. For example, let's say when you look at the flexibility around the lot numbers as well as serial numbers, when you have to support both of them together, sometimes that could be a need for medical device companies, and that's where Rootstock has that as part of their design that a lot of systems might not be able to support, even the mainstream ones. So that's where MedTech vertical is very different, and Rootstock has been proven there. They also have the core processes for device history record. For example, when you look at the whole as built as maintained process, and when you have to swap out serial numbers in the as maintained one, and you require the complete traceability, side by side comparison, all of those processes are built as part of the product. Other things that you need to keep in mind from Rootstock perspective is this is probably going to be one of the systems that are really exciting from the AI first perspective. The Salesforce is investing a lot in AI, and Rootstock is going to be direct beneficiary of that. So that's a huge plus for Rootstock. Other systems that are owned by a smaller private equity, or they are very small companies, they might not be able to afford as much AI investment. So if you care for AI first system, then Rootstock would be a great fit. Some limitations to keep in mind is functionally, it might not be as rich compared to the other products, but again, there are always going to be workarounds with every single system, depending upon whether those workarounds are going to be okay for you or not. That's where you need to do much deeper due diligence during your selection process. And their ecosystem is probably going to be limited as well. So those are some of the weaknesses, and that's number 3. Number 2 on our list is Sage X3. And Sage X3 is probably going to be one of the most proven in the medical device sector, just because Sage X3 always had focus on medical device pharma-centric verticals. Their whole ecosystem is going to be, you are going to find a lot more companies that are consulting in the Sage 3 ecosystem. They are going to have familiarity with the system and processes. When you are looking at validation-centric processes or FDA-centric compliance processes, all of those consulting companies might be available in the Sage X3 ecosystem. In general, the way Sage approaches their ERP systems, their approach is very generic as well. Even though Sage X3 might not be as large as SAP or Oracle, they are very mid-market, upper mid-market centric system. So they are going to be very deep in terms of their accounting capabilities. The kind of security layers that they are going to have, they are very deep. Now, that could be a pro as well as a con. So for med device segment, you do require a deeper auditability. That's why it is a great fit for med device, but some companies might mind that. They might feel that those layers are unnecessary. So for those companies, it might not be the best fit. But in general, for med device companies, that's a capability that you are probably going to. Some limitations to keep in mind is their suite capabilities. The suite might not be as complete. The integrations might not be as complete. So you are probably going to get those from third parties. So that's number 2. Number 1 on our list is QAD. And QAD is probably going to have as much penetration as your Sage X3 or Syspro, Rootstock. They all have very high penetration, especially in the SMB MedTech segment. So QAD is probably going to be a best fit for supply chain heavy medical device companies, just because the kind of suite it does support the supply chain processes. It's going to be far more complete compared to the other systems that we have on this list. They also have very strong global capabilities. So it's slightly larger product compared to the smaller products. For example, if you compare this with Syspro, etc., Syspro, Rootstock, they are probably going to be smaller compared to your QAD. QAD is a much bigger product. It's a far more complete suite in general. The limitations to keep in mind from QAD perspective is it might not be as diverse. So if you're looking for that financial ledger globally, then for that application, QAD might not be the best fit. This is primarily for the operational needs. If you care for that, then QAD is probably going to provide you better value. And then it might require add-ons for some of the medical device specific IP, but that is probably going to be with most systems that we have on this list, with the only exception being maybe DCOM may not require that, or Sage X3 may not require that, but they are going to require other integrations. So in this particular case, medical device specific IP may be to a third party from a VAR, so that's going to be a limitation, and that's number one. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include a link for a detailed report that is going to have a lot more details. We publish these videos on a weekly basis, so you might want to hit subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Also, if you prefer audio form, this podcast is available on the major podcasting platform. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.